Hello everybody, and a big welcome to this evening's Easy 11 Plus live lesson from me and from Dimitri. Dimitri hasn't been in here for a few weeks, and that's a shame. I should be introducing him much more often, because he often has very important messages to share. For example, Dimitri today wants to tell you all about how you can get loads of completely free resources for the 11 Plus on my website. The link's in the video description down below. It's the RSL Educational website. The page for free resources is really obvious. And when you go to that page, yes, Dimitri, it's amazing, isn't it? When you go to that page, you can access loads and loads of material with my really detailed answers. So if you want lots of free 11 Plus stuff, apart from, of course, these amazing lessons presented by Dimitri, just go to my website and access those papers. It's linked below in the video description. More information is there. Right, we should get on with today's lesson because I'm teaching a class after this. You can find out about my classes on the website. So I only have half an hour or so. We are looking at some St. Olave's School past maths questions to go with the English questions that we looked at last week. Caden Guruj says, hi Dimitri, excellent tip. Dimitri he's on the ball. It's Dimitri, he's on the ball. He may look like he isn't all that smart, but appearances can be deceptive. Suzanne Gramson with a more typical observation, Dimitri is so cute. He is very cute. There's no denying it. Right, okay. Oh, it's Hadin. Hello, Hadin. Wonderful to see you. Hadin was in one of my Zoom lessons yesterday. So Hadin will no doubt in the comments tell us all about it. Right, let's get on with today's class. So we're looking at these maths questions from St. Olave's. Now, as you can see actually in the blurb at the top, you have 1 hour, and in that hour you've got 4 sections to get through. So it's reasonable to assume you're going to have about 15 minutes for each section. For these maths questions, you have probably not coincidentally 15 questions. So it's likely you've got a quarter of an hour. I'm going to spend a bit longer than a quarter of an hour today, I expect, because I'm going to actually be explaining what I'm doing and not just doing it. But still, I'm going to be moving pretty quickly. I want to show you how you can move quite fast through these questions. I'm going to cut some corners. I'm not going to include full working all the time. It's a multiple choice paper. They aren't marking your working. They're marking whether or not the answer is correct. That's what matters. So I'm going to talk about how you can get to a correct answer quickly and efficiently, not always with the fullest explanations, not always in the most elegant way. Now, sometimes this is going to mean that I've given the answer and moved on before you fully understood. But don't forget, these lessons stay up on YouTube. You can rewind the video and rewatch my explanations as many times as you like. Okay, let us get cracking. Top Say says, Robert, last week and the week before I came at 6:15, but there was nothing. Last week there was definitely a lesson, and both of the last 2 weeks there was a lesson at 6:15. So I don't know what was going on there, I have to say, because there was a lesson. I'm sorry that you missed them. Right. What number is 339 less than 2018? So we can immediately see less than, it's a subtraction. We just need to set up the subtraction clearly. So we got 2018, let's make that nice and clear, 2018, and we're going 339 less. So 339. Now, if you're someone who's naturally messy like me, you do need to make an effort when you're doing this kind of column calculation to set things out reasonably neatly so you can tell what's in which column. Okay, and of course you know how to do this. Let's just work through it. 8 minus 9, can't do that in a question like this, so you need to be 18. 18 minus 9. That means that we need to steal from this column, so that's going to become a 0. But then 0 minus 3 isn't going to work, so we're going to have to steal from this column to make that 10. But we can't steal from 1, we have to steal from 10. So we steal from 10, that's going to become a 9. But hang on, to make that a 10, we stole from here. So that must be a 1. So you've got to go through that period of setting up in order to do a subtraction. You can do it one thing at a time and solve each subtraction. I prefer to sort out the top as far as I can and then solve it. So 18 minus 9 is 9, 10 minus 3 is 7, 9 minus 3 is 6, and 1 minus 0 is 1. 1679, that's that one here. Common sense check. 300 more than that will be 1979, and then we just need to tip over 2000, so another 39 sounds reasonable. So 1679, good. Don't forget to do the common sense check at the end. For example, let's say that you forgot here to turn that 10 into a 9, and you had an answer of 1779. Well, if you added 300 to that, you'd already be too far. So that couldn't be the right answer. On to the next one. Frequency diagram. Now this is misprinted because you can see that these numbers here should obviously be up here. So I think in converting their file to a PDF, something went wrong. But anyway, we know what they were aiming for. Don't get hung up on what you've got in front of you. If it's obvious that there's a misprint, work with that. Use your common sense. This is printed very, very badly. Anyway, what is the mode for the number of days of absence? Remember your mean and median and mode. So mean is the average you're used to, where you add everything together and divide by the number of things. Median, you put them in order from smallest to largest and pick the middle, basically. And mode means the most common. Okay? And if you know a Latin language like French or Italian, possibly Spanish, or I don't know what the word is in Spanish, you'll also probably recognize this as being very close to a word meaning fashion. It's the most fashionable number. Here, the most fashionable number, the one that everyone's aiming for, is this one here, which is 0. So the answer is 0. The mode is 0. The mode just means what's the most common option. It's a fancy way of asking a really simple thing. Alex arrives at school at 8:30 a.m. and leaves at 4:15 p.m. So we're going from 8:30 to 4:15. Okay, so I'm actually a real fan of the 24-hour clock for these things. It makes life a bit easier. At 16:50, you don't have to do this, but it does help, I think. So 8:30, we're going to get 8:30 to 9, and before 6:15, we're going to have 16:00. Okay. So 9 to 16, this is where it's helpful because that is really obviously 7 hours. And here we got 30 minutes. And here we got 15 minutes. So overall we've got 7 hours and 45 minutes. 7 hours is how many minutes? 7 hours is how many minutes? So we need to do 7 lots of 60 minutes. 7 times 60. Well, 7 times 6 is 42 times table. So 7 times 60 is 420. Okay, this is the kind of sneaky way of doing things that's absolutely fine with multiple choice. You just need to get the right answer. 420 plus 45 is 465. I'm not writing that out because it's obvious to me. 20 plus 45 is 65. It's the multiple choice test. Once you know the answer, just choose it. Write out the working insofar as you might get something wrong. Which of the following is the most suitable unit? I did check the answers, but I did do the answers before just to be absolutely certain that I'm not making stupid mistakes now. Most suitable unit for measuring the capacity of a large bucket. So capacity of a liquid. So we know we're dealing with litres or millilitres. We're not dealing with centimetres, which is a unit of length. That's obviously wrong. Grams, you could weigh it in grams, but that would be its weight or its mass. That isn't relevant. Kilograms likewise. Litres or millilitres for the capacity, the amount of liquid, the volume of liquid. Okay? Which one is it? So millilitres might be useful for how much of my... Oh, it's got a strange orange. I promise you it's yellow. It's just because of my green screen that it's messing with it. Oh, wow, look at the magic. You can, when I move this, you can see the worksheet through my head. It's amazing. Anyway, enough of that. If I was going to describe how much of this strange magic drink there is in this glass, if I were to describe that, I'd probably say millilitres. And what? There's probably about, I don't know, about 200 millilitres there. Relatively small amount. If I had a little jug, I might still use millilitres. By the time we got a big bucket, maybe it might even be something like 15 litres or something, and it says a large bucket. 15 litres. Am I really going to say 15,000 millilitres? Of course I am. Of course I'm not. I'm going to say litres. So while there are some circumstances in which you might talk about millilitres for a decent sized bucket, pretty eccentric. It's going to be litres. That's clearly what they're looking for. They've really gone to town with bolding and underlining most suitable, so trust that. A rectangle has a perimeter of 24 centimetres. Its length is twice its width. What is its area in centimetres squared? In square centimetres, centimetres squared. With a question like this, I always recommend sketching it. It doesn't need to be neat, it's just for your benefit, but sketch a rectangle. So what do we know? We know that its width is here, we'll call that W, uncreatively, and its length is, hidden by that. Its length is twice its width. That means 2 times W, or 2W. So the length is 2W. If we go all the way round, its perimeter is 24 centimetres, and that's made up of W, a 2W, and a W, and a 2w. A perimeter means the distance around the outside. So if we add all these together, we're going to get 24. So if we have 2w plus w plus 2w plus w, we get 24. Okay? How many w's is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6w is 24. Oops, that is not any kind of number, is 24. 6w's are 24, so 1w is 24 divided by 6, which is 4. Yes, it's algebra, but it's very simple algebra, and it's the kind of algebra that you do want to get the hang of. This will really help you when it comes to your exams. So we know that the width is 4, okay? So the width is 4. So twice the width is 8, okay? What's its area? 4 times 8. 4 times 8 equals 32. So it's 32 centimeters squared. Now this working out here is really messy and poorly organized, okay? It's really messy and poorly organized. If you're writing an exam in which they see your working and you're going to be marked on it, make it clearer than this. Make it clear what you're doing at each stage. So if it's 4 times 8 is 32, and the way I've just written 8 and 4 next to my numbers here, really scrappy and hard to read. But for an exam like this, where you're against the clock, you just need to choose the right answer. They are not marking your working. They would even see your working because your answer is on a different answer sheet. In this kind of exam, do what works for you. Put down enough working that you won't make silly mistakes and that you can clearly get to the answer. What you don't want is to be in a situation where you're doing loads of stuff in your head and then at some point you get distracted by the person next to you in the exam hall sneezing and then you forget where you were and you have to start all over again. That's a key reason why writing down working is really important. But it doesn't need to be neat for somebody else in a multiple choice exam. It just needs to be clear for you. Okay, Dimitri wants to be let out. So just give me about 15 seconds to let him out the door and then I will be back. Somebody has written in the someone has written in the comments. I don't understand this question. Fair enough. I have various videos on this kind of thing. Look for videos on things like algebra and shapes and algebra with shapes. If you search for algebra, if you put algebra shapes in my channel, there's more detail on this. I know, I've explained this to somebody who already has some idea what I'm doing. But there are videos in which I go through this much more from first principles. But just to summarize it briefly, I'll just quickly go through this again for clarity. So the perimeter, which means the distance around the outside, is 24 centimeters. That could be made up of lots of different things. It could be that it's 10 centimeters one side, 10 centimeters in each of the long sides, and then 2 centimeters in each of the short side. You don't know. But then we know that its length is twice its width. That's where we got the WW, 2W, 2W. Okay? So we know that 24 centimeters is made up of 6 W's. So 1W is a sixth of 24 centimeters. That's 4. And from that we know the length and the width. So it must be 8 and 4. Okay? 8, 4. So we go around the outside. We've got 8, 4, 8, 4. Add those up and you get 24. So those are the sides of our rectangle. And then all we need to do now is find the area. And the area is the length times the width. 8 times 4. And that's just a times table. Matter is 32. And so that's going to be our answer. If that still doesn't make sense, rewind, watch again. But I would go to one of my videos where I talk about this a bit more slowly, a bit more for people who don't have any clue about these questions yet. I've done this more than once, questions like that. There are quite a few things about it on the channel. The number of lines of symmetry of a rectangle, now you'll see, I think, how when you're doing multiple choice, you can just write the working in a way that suits you. It doesn't need to be set out for the examiner. Number of lines of symmetry of a rectangle that is not a square is x. Well, I immediately know that that's 2 lines of symmetry. Hang on a sec, how do I know that? Right, that's all I'd write in the exam for this, but I'm just going to do this to make it clear to you. Here's a rectangle and it's not a square. How many lines of symmetry? So if it was a square, you'd have a line of symmetry this way. But in a rectangle, that isn't a line of symmetry because this point here would end up over here and this point here would end up over here. It isn't a line of symmetry. If you reflected in that, if that was a mirror line. So that isn't a line of symmetry in a rectangle. In a rectangle that's not a square, the only lines of symmetry are along here and down here. There are 2 of them. In a square, you've also got the diagonals, but this is not a square. So there are 2. In a rectangle, it's not a square. In an isosceles triangle, Okay, an isosceles triangle, so that's a triangle with two sides the same, like this. So there's only one line of symmetry here, there. Okay, what's the value of x plus y? 2 plus 1 is 3. Now this working is not clear to somebody who hasn't had me explaining it. That does not matter. It's a multiple choice exam. You just need to do whatever working gets you to the answer. You're against the clock. Okay? A bag contains 20 red discs, 10 green discs and 30 blue discs. A disc is chosen at random. Which of these ends is most likely? Okay. I'm just going to ignore all the zeros. I can imagine it's 2, 1 and 3. Because we're talking about the chance of things. So 20, 10 and 3, 20, 10 and 30 is the same chance as if I'm working with 2, 1 and 3. That gives a total of 6. Okay, total of 6. Right. What's the chance that the chosen disc is red? That's 2 out of 6. 2 red discs out of 6 discs, 2 out of 6, so that's the third. I'm just jotting the probabilities down really quickly. The chosen disc is blue. That's 3 out of 6, a half. That's more likely. The chosen disc is not red. So 2 are red, so 4 are not red. 4 out of 6, that's 2/3. That's even more likely. The chosen disc is green or blue. So that's 4 out of 6. That's also 2/3. So neither of these can be the answer, or they both have to be. The chosen disc is not green. So that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are not green. 5 out of 6. Okay, that's clearly the most likely. So E is the answer. So really, really quick and dirty probability. It's nothing wrong with working 20, 10 and 30. Most people will. But you may as well simplify it by getting rid of the zeros and it becomes a bit simpler. Again, if that isn't clear to you, I have videos on probability ratios, that sort of thing in my channel. What is the next number in the sequence? Aha! When you're working with the sequence, always start by writing in the differences. So we've got difference of 2, difference of 4, difference of 8. This is going to be 16, isn't it? It is. Next one's going to be 32. 33 plus 32 is 65, and there is 65. Okay? You may notice when you're dealing with multiple choice questions like these, some questions take a bit longer. But that's okay as long as some questions take a bit less time. This one will probably take you less than a minute if you work systematically. This looks really complicated. The North Lighthouse flashes every 20 seconds. The South Lighthouse flashes every 25 seconds. 2 lighthouses are just flashed at the same time. How many seconds will it be before they next flash at the same time? So you might plunge in and start doing your lowest common multiple calculations. But hang on, just think about it. South Lighthouse flashes every 25 seconds. So it flashes after 25 seconds, after 50 seconds, after 75 seconds, after 100 seconds, and so on. North Lighthouse flashed after 20, 40, 60. None of those came up on our previous list. 80, still no. 100, that's it. So the first number of seconds after which they both flash is 100. I think this one's absolutely fine as a mental maths problem, actually. Nothing wrong with doing that if you understand what you're doing. If you aren't sure what you're doing, write them out quickly. North, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, that'll do us. And then you do south, 25, 50, 75, 100. Oh, we've got 100 matching up there. So, I beg your pardon, you get there quite easily. Adil says, I've chosen a prime number less than 20. It is one more than a multiple of 4. How many possible numbers could Adil have chosen? I would write out all the numbers which are one more than a multiple of 4 under 20. And then check which are prime. So first multiple 4, 1 times 4 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 1 is 17, and then we're over 20. All of these are prime except for 9, because 9 is 3 times 3. A prime number has only 1 and itself as factors. So for example, you can't make 5 by doing 2 times something or 3 times something. It doesn't work. Just 5. 13, again, it isn't 5 times something or 7 times something. It's just 13. It's only 1 times 13 and 13 times 1. And the same with 17. That's what a prime number is. Again, I have videos about prime numbers on my channel. If you don't know what on earth I'm talking about, have a look for them. So there are 3 possible numbers that he could have chosen. So that's the answer. In April this year, it rained in Orpington on 9 out of 30 days. On what percentage of the days did it not rain in Orpington this year? Well, 9 out of 30 is 3 out of 10. Divide by 3 and divide by 3. 3 out of 10. So that's 30%. So 100 minus 30 is 70. So in other words, the leftover days are 70%. And what percentage of days? 70%. It rained on 30% of days. Percentage is out of 100, so that means that there are 70% of days on which it did not rain. Teddy, this looks really complicated, but don't get sucked in by that. Just do this. Just work through systematically. Teddy is making a sequence of patterns using white and grey tiles. The first 3 patterns are below. Pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3. How many grey tiles will be in pattern 10? So let's just focus on the grey tiles. In pattern 1, we got 1 grey tile. Maybe in pattern 2 there'll be 2 grey tiles. No, there are 4 grey tiles. So in pattern 2 we seem to have 2 this way and 2 that way. 2 times 2 is 4. In pattern 3, yes, that's the pattern. We got 3 along the top and 3 down the side. 3 times 3, so that's 4. Let's make that clearer. That's what I call clear. This is 1, so we've got 1, 4, 9. So in pattern 10, we're going to have 10 times 10 equals 100, which is that there. 25. Sabrina, Stanley and Shane are sharing a cake. This is an absolute feast of unnecessary alliteration. Sabrina eats 1/4 of the cake. Okay, depending on the size of the cake. I suppose that Sabrina had a significant hunger, but you ain't seen nothing yet. Anyway, Sabrina eats 1/4 of the cake. This is about how much left. You can see that. Each 1/2 of the rest, how much is left. So let's focus on what's left. And again, I am just taking notes that I understand. It doesn't matter whether the marker understands, because they won't see them. They will just see the answer sheet, which actually in the exam is separate. So Sabrina eats 1/4 of the cake. That means there are 3/4 left. Quarters, there are 4 of them. 1's been eaten, so there are 3/4 left. This means there are 3/4 left. Okay, I'll write left. I don't need to write left. It's just for me. As long as I understand it, it's okay. Stanley eats 1/2 of the rest of the cake. Okay, hang on. What's left is 3/4, but I've got to half that. Halving 3 is going to leave a mess, not just of cake, but also of maths. But 3/4, here's the cunning bit. 3/4 is the same as 6/8. I've doubled them both, which means I know I'll be able to half it. So 3/4 left, which is 6/8. 1/2 of the rest, that's going to be 3/8. Get my head out of the way. Whoa! So 3/8 have been eaten, 3/8 are left. So now there are 3/8. I'm not going to write left because I know it means left. Okay? So Sabrina eats 1/4. We got 3/4 left. That's 6/8. What's going? Stop it. Go away. Okay, good. 3/4 6/8. Stanley eats 1/2 of the rest, leaving 3/8. What fraction's left for Shane? That's it. 3/8. Okay? Nice and straightforward in the end. And here's me hoping that I haven't made a complete mess of anything. Well, I think the answers I've got here seem to match the answer that I chose before, so that at least is something. Good. And we are nearly there. Great. We're making good time, which is great because I've got to go and teach a lesson on essay writing in 22 minutes, and I haven't set it up yet. And somebody just sent their work to me just now, and I've got to look at it in a hurry. So, all those things considered, it's good that we're making good time. Sophia draws a row of 10 dots in a straight line. The gap between each dot and the next dot is 25 millimeters. What's the difference in meters between the first dot and the last dot? Now, lots of people will say, okay, well, there are obviously 10 gaps. And 10 lots of 25 millimeters is 250 millimeters. Careful, there's a bit of a logic issue here. Let's look at it not with 10 dots. Let's look at it with fewer. Imagine I've got 3 dots. Okay? How many gaps are there between those dots? 1, 2. There's the number of gaps is 1 less than the number of dots. So if there are 10 dots, that equals 9 gaps. So 9 times what I'm working with. I'm writing notes for me. The examiner doesn't need to understand them. 9 equals 9x, so 9 times. 9 times 25. Right, mental maths. 10 times would be 250, so 9 times is 225. Okay? So that's 225. So it's going to be either A or C. How many meters? Is 225 millimeters, millimeter is tiny, it's 225 millimeters really going to be 22.5 meters? Obviously not. It's obviously going to be A. So common sense can help you when you're doing multiple choice. But let's work it out as well. Millimeters, how many of those are there in a meter? Well, the clue is in milli, thousandths of them. So we're dividing by 1,000. So 225, what am I doing? That's 222, I'm a fool. 225, So 225.0, moving the decimal point 1 to the left, that's dividing by 10, and again dividing by 100, and again dividing by 1,000, so it ends up here, 0.225, which is the answer that we chose, very luckily. Onwards, and here we have the final question. And if you're wondering why this is black, it's because I redacted it, because that's a later part of the question that I'll look at again, probably next week, on reasoning, I think. Okay. Anandam is continuing the Dmitri and Grigri story. Fantastic. In front of them was a wrecked wall. That way, cried Dmitri. That was when they realized that the city was burning to a crisp. They ran on, knowing that a fight was on the way. Who wants part 6? I want part 6. I'd love to see part 6. Great, Anandam. Thank you for your creative contribution. Thank you for confirming what all sensible channel members know, which is that creative writing is far more fun than maths. But maths, we still have to do it. It's very important. It's very enjoyable. Very enjoyable, the maths. Very enjoyable. Total cost of 4 rulers and 5 pencils. Right, there are various ways of doing this, but by far the easiest way is with a bit of relatively simple algebra. Again, if you want to understand algebra, what I'm doing here properly, you'll need to look at some of my algebra videos on the channel. If you look at the playlists on the channel homepage, you'll see that there's a core maths playlist and there's a more advanced maths playlist. Look for the algebra videos in the core maths playlist, because they are on the more basic algebra skills. If you don't understand what I'm doing here. If you do understand what I'm doing here, then you know some algebra. Look at the algebra videos in the advanced maths playlist. It's as simple as that. Okay. The total cost of 4 rulers and 5 pencils is the same as roundabout English way of saying equals. We've got an equation. Something equals something. 4 rulers, 4r, r is the cost of a ruler. 4r plus 5 times the cost of a pencil is the same as the cost of 2 rulers plus 11 pencils. Okay? 4r plus 5p equals 2r plus 11p. And now what I'm doing here, this is where, if you don't understand algebra, you won't know what I'm doing, which is fine. It just means that you need to learn about it. So we want a number of rulers equaling a number of pencils. But we don't want r on both sides of the equal sign and p on both sides of the equal sign. What can we get rid of easily? 2r is crying out for it. We want to get rid of 2r. Minus 2r, that's just my note to say what I'm doing. Everything we do to both sides. So here you have to do 4r minus 2r is 2r. The p's haven't changed yet. So what am I doing? I just changed it. Plus 5p equals 2r minus 2r is nothing. That's what we did it to get rid of it. Equals 11p. We always get rid of something by doing the opposite. Now we've got 2r plus 5p equals 11p. We want a number of r's equals a number of p's. What's out of place? 5p is out of place. Plus 5p is out of place. We need to get rid of it. We always get rid of something by doing the opposite. The opposite of plus is minus. To get rid of plus 5p, we need to do minus 5p. Minus 5p. 2r plus 5p minus 5p, that's gone, equals 11p minus 5p. 11 minus 5 is 6. Equals 6p. We need to know how many pencils cost the same as 5 rulers, but we've got 2 rulers here. How do we get from 2 to 5? Maybe via 1, because these are both even numbers. We can divide them both by 2. So if 2r is 6p, 1r is 3p. We want 5r's. 5r's, that's 5 times as much. 3 times 5 is 15. 15p. So how many pencils cost the same as... what am I doing? Sorry, 5r, not 5p. I just ruined the world. 5r, that's the one. So we know that 5 rulers cost the same as 15 pencils. So the answer is 15. B, assuming that's the answer I got earlier. Yes, magnificent. So if I'm wrong, I was wrong twice. So I'm just really enthusiastically going all in on the wrong. All right, everybody. What did Anandam write? They ran into the premises of Leahurst. There they met Robert, inside a mech suit. Robert knew that they were there to stop his devious scheme to teach 11 plus maths. He faced them as Dmitri and Grigri powered up. This is fun. I have to be frank. What Anandam is doing in the live comments is more fun than what I'm doing in the lesson. Follow him, don't follow me. Right, and on that emphatically self-destructive note, I need to go because I need to go and prepare my essay writing lesson in 15 minutes. Fantastic to have you all here. Absolutely wonderful. You're all absolute stars. I mean, maybe you aren't, but I have to say that, don't I? I bet you are. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. Wonderful, wonderful to have you. You're brilliant. I love having you. Blah, blah, blah. I'll see you in the next live lesson, which will probably be at the same time next week, I would imagine. It tends to happen. And yeah, apart from that, I want to go back to where I started. Video description under the video on YouTube. It says you can have free papers. It isn't lying. You can have free papers. There's no catch. The only catch is that it adds you to my mailing list. But you can leave my mailing list anytime you want. There's a link at the top of every email saying, unsubscribe now, and you can click on it, and then you're gone. So you can have the free papers and then unsubscribe if you want to, although I can't see why you would want to, because my mailing list is amazing. I keep sending more free stuff. Anyway, what I'm saying in a really roundabout way is you want free 11 plus resources written by me so beautifully with answers for you to follow and explanations of everything. Of course you do. Why would you not want that? You love the 11 plus. It's your favorite thing. You can get them if you go to the video description and click on the link for free resources. And yeah, I've said that about 5 times. I said it enough times. You've got other things to do. I definitely have other things to do. So bye-bye. Wonderful to have you here. And I really look forward to seeing you in another live lesson. And I'll try to make sure that Dimitri or Grigori do join more consistently at the start of the lessons. I'm sorry that you've been missing the cats for a few weeks. I know that you're here for the cats and for Anandam's story more than you're here for my teaching. I'm not proud. I can deal with that as long as you're here. Bye-bye.